Maybe you don't notice it, but every time you say yes when you want to say no, every time you act to please, to avoid conflict, to not disappoint, you're disappearing a little more. You blend into the background. You become a little invisible, even to yourself. It doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, young or old. We've all felt that pressure to fit in, to meet expectations that aren't our own. And in that process, we've learned to abandon the most valuable part, our true selves. But here's the truth. We're not broken, we're conditioned. And just as we learn to abandon ourselves, we can learn to return to ourselves. Let's meet Ellen, a bright woman, full of life, with a heart so big it sometimes seemed to overflow. From a young age, she learned that her worth was in taking care of others, in being the good one, the one who was always there.
In my relationships, I gave everything: time, energy, understanding, even when I received coldness, indifference, or even betrayal in return.
What Ellen didn't know was that she was trapped in a pattern of anxious attachment, searching in others for the love she didn't give herself. She had learned to confuse love with sacrifice, to believe that her excessive giving was the only way to deserve affection. Ellen's journey towards self-love began the day she decided to stop being the main character in other people's stories and start writing her own. Love should never cost you your dignity. Remember that. Always. David, like many men, grew up in a world that taught him to be strong, to not show weakness, to be the support, the provider, the rock. From a young age, he learned that expressing his emotions meant being weak, a luxury he couldn't afford.
I built walls around my heart, an invisible armor that protected me from the world, but that also isolated me from myself. My worth was measured by my ability to endure, by the hours I worked, by the responsibility I carried on my shoulders.
Silently, he lived exhausted, disconnected from his own needs, from his dreams, from his own inner voice. David's story reflects the social pressure that many men experience, forced to fit into a mold of rigid masculinity.
But true strength isn't about denying emotions, but about the courage to embrace them, to explore them, to allow yourself to be vulnerable.
There's nothing more powerful than a man who dares to feel, to express, to live authentically. From the outside, Sophia's family seemed perfect. A beautiful house, dream vacations, flawless smiles in family photos. But behind that facade of happiness hid an uncomfortable truth: silence.
In Sophia's home, no one talked about what really mattered. Emotions were swept under the rug, differences were ignored, and conflicts were resolved with a tense silence.
Sophia, from a very young age, learned that her role was to be the strong one, the one who didn't complain, the one who kept the peace at all costs.
Her father, burdened with the weight of being the provider, took refuge in work, absent in body and soul.
In that house, there was no yelling, no arguing, no breaking dishes, but there was suffering in silence. Each family member carried their own emotional wounds, invisible inheritances of a family legacy in which authentic expression was forbidden. Breaking the silence is an act of bravery, a chance to heal the wounds of the past and build more authentic relationships, freer, more real. You might be asking yourself, why do we repeat these patterns of self-abandonment? The answer lies in our brain's incredible ability to adapt. From the moment we are born, our brains look for patterns, connections, ways to keep us safe and connected to our surroundings. If, in our childhood, we learned that staying quiet protected us from conflict, that being pleasing guaranteed us affection, our brain recorded those patterns as survival maps. But the good news is that our brains are flexible, malleable. We call this capacity for change neuroplasticity. Just as we learned to abandon ourselves, we can learn to return to ourselves. Every time you decide to say no when you want to say no, every time you set a healthy boundary, you're creating new neural connections. If you decide to tell yourself a new story, a story of bravery, self-love, and authenticity, your brain will believe it too. You have the power to choose what story you want to tell, what life you want to create. To stop living to please others, to silence your voice, to give up on your dreams. It's not selfish. It's an act of healing. It's an act of bravery that requires commitment, compassion, and above all, patience. It's not about becoming a completely new person, but about reconnecting with your true self. The road back to yourself isn't a straight line. It will be full of obstacles, doubts, and fears that will want to keep you in your comfort zone. There will be days when you feel strong, invincible, ready to take on the world. And there will be days when doubt whispers in your ear, when you want to give up on everything. In those moments, remember that you are not alone. Everyone, at some point in our lives, has traveled this road. If this message resonated deep within you, it's no coincidence. It's your soul reminding you that you deserve to live a full, authentic life, connected to your truth. It's the call to awaken from the slumber of self-neglect and embrace the courage to be who you truly are. This is just the beginning of an exciting journey, a journey of self-discovery and transformation. And we want to be with you every step of the way. Subscribe to Deep Root, a space where we don't create content to entertain, but to transform. A space to connect with your inner power, to heal the wounds of the past and build a life full of purpose and authenticity. You are awakening,